Before Knight Rider, nobody had tried to make a car the co-star of a primetime drama. The car talked. The car had opinions. The car occasionally saved the day while the human lead was unconscious. And the voice actor playing the car refused to be credited for years. That was Knight Rider, a show that ran for 4 seasons on NBC, turned a Pontiac Trans Am into one of the most recognized vehicles in television history, and made its lead actor more famous in Germany than in America. Today, 15 facts about Knight Rider, from the casting that nearly gave us a different Michael Knight, to the fleet of 6 kits running simultaneously, to the bonus that reveals what happened to the original car after the cameras stopped. Stick around. Fact 1. The show was built on the template of The Lone Ranger, with a car instead of a horse. Glenn A. Larson, who created Knight Rider, described the concept in straightforward terms. A lone hero, a powerful companion, a mission to help people who couldn't help themselves. The Lone Ranger had silver. Michael Knight had kit. The structure was identical. The companion was just faster, more expensive, and considerably more talkative. Larson had built a career on high-concept television. Battlestar Galactica, Magnum P.Y., The Fall Guy, all came from his company. Knight Rider fit his formula. A simple, visually distinctive premise that could sustain episodic storytelling without complex continuity. The show premiered on NBC in September 1982 and became one of the network's most watched programs within its first season. Fact 2. David Hasselhoff was not the first choice for Michael Knight. The role went through a casting process that considered several actors before settling on Hasselhoff. The character required physical credibility, easy charm, and the ability to carry scenes in which his primary acting partner was a dashboard. Hasselhoff had been working steadily in television since the mid-1970s, primarily on The Young and the Restless, but hadn't established himself as an action lead. What the producers got was someone with an instinctive ease in front of a camera that made car interior scenes feel natural rather than static. His chemistry with the voice of Kit, delivered entirely through earpieces and post-production, was convincing enough that audiences genuinely believed in the relationship. Fact 3. William Daniels refused to be credited for voicing Kit. William Daniels, who provided the voice of Kit throughout the show's run, was initially reluctant to take the role. His concern was professional. He didn't want to be credited for voicing a car. He had significant theater credits and a film career, and worried about how the association would be perceived. He agreed on the condition that he receive no on-screen credit. For several seasons, Kit's voice was officially uncredited. Daniels later acknowledged the decision was somewhat absurd in retrospect. The voice became one of the most recognized in American television, and everyone in the industry knew who was providing it. The concern about his reputation was overtaken by the show's success. Fact 4. Kit was built on a Pontiac Trans Am, and the red scanner was a mechanical rig. The vehicle chosen as Kit's base was the 1982 Pontiac Trans Am, a car with enough existing visual presence to read as extraordinary without radical modification. The production team added a distinctive front end, featuring the scanning red light that became the car's most recognized element. The scanner was a practical effect achieved with a simple mechanical rig. It moved back and forth across Kit's front panel, cost a fraction of what any digital effect would have, and was more reliable on location. The combination of the Trans Am's silhouette and the added scanner created a vehicle immediately recognizable from a distance, essential for outdoor filming. Fact 5. The production ran a fleet of 6 Kit vehicles simultaneously. Multiple versions of Kit were built for different purposes. The hero car, fully dressed for close-up filming and interior shots, was one of several. Stunt cars took the physical punishment of action sequences. Shell cars handled specific angles that the hero car's equipment couldn't accommodate. At various points, as many as 6 Kit vehicles were in active use simultaneously. The continuity team faced the challenge of matching the cars across different shooting conditions. The same scratches, the same dust levels, so that cuts between vehicles weren't visible. The fleet existed because the stunt work required cars that could absorb damage without halting production. Fact 6. Hasselhoff performed most of his own driving. Unlike many productions where stunt drivers handle all vehicle work, Hasselhoff drove himself through most of the show's chase and pursuit sequences. His willingness gave the in-car scenes a specific quality. Genuine driving focus combined with performance created a naturalness that doubling would have undermined. For the most dangerous sequences, stunt drivers took over. The base-level driving visible in most episodes was Hasselhoff. Fact 7. The kit dashboard was fully functional, not a static prop. The kit interior, with its screens, voice synthesizer displays, and switch arrays, was operational during filming rather than a painted surface or mock-up. The technical team built a working interior that could respond to inputs from the actor during takes. This was considerably more expensive than a static prop, but produced a specific benefit. Hasselhoff could interact with the dashboard spontaneously during performance, giving scenes an improvisational quality that scripted prop interaction would have lacked. The working interior was rebuilt and updated several times across the 4 seasons. Fact 8. The show became more famous internationally than it was in America. Knight Rider's international distribution created a cultural footprint that significantly exceeded its American ratings. In Germany in particular, the show achieved viewing figures that outstripped its domestic performance and made Hasselhoff extraordinarily famous. The combination of action sequences and the talking car concept translated across language barriers in ways that dialogue-heavy drama could not. Hasselhoff's German popularity, which extended to a music career producing #1 singles in Germany during the late 1980s, grew directly from Knight Rider's syndication success. The show that made him recognizable in America made him a phenomenon in Europe. A voice actor who refused credit for one of the most recognized voices on television, a hero vehicle requiring a fleet of 6, a lead actor who drove himself, and a show more famous in Germany than at home. We're not halfway through. Still coming, the fan campaign that reversed a cancellation, the stunt work that destroyed multiple cars, and the bonus, what happened to the original kit after the show ended and why nobody is entirely sure. Fact 9. The Turbo Boost stunt destroyed multiple hero cars across the production. The Turbo Boost, kit launching itself over obstacles, was the show's signature stunt and its most physically demanding. The effect was achieved practically, using prepared ramps and vehicles modified to handle launch and landing stress. The stunt team developed specific protocols, including minimum approach speeds, ramp angles, and landing configurations. Several hero cars sustained significant damage during stunt sequences. The production maintained its vehicle fleet precisely because the stunt work required a supply of cars that could absorb damage without halting production. The most spectacular sequences in the show came at a real mechanical cost. Fact 10. The show was canceled, then renewed after a fan letter-writing campaign. Knight Rider was canceled by NBC after its 3rd season in 1985 as ratings declined from their first season peak. The cancellation generated a significant audience response. Letter-writing campaigns, viewer petitions, sustained pressure from viewers who wanted the show to continue. NBC reversed the cancellation and renewed for a 4th season, making Knight Rider one of the earlier examples of audience pressure successfully overturning a network decision. The 4th season aired in 1985 and 1986. The reversal established a template for fan renewal campaigns that has become considerably more common in the streaming era. Fact 11. The show directly inspired a wave of vehicle-based action series. Knight Rider's commercial success influenced several subsequent series built around distinctive vehicles. Airwolf, premiering in 1984, applied the formula to a helicopter. Street Hawk, premiering in 1985, applied it to a motorcycle. Both were produced by networks attempting to replicate Knight Rider's ratings. The Knight Rider model proved difficult to replicate because the specific combination of Hasselhoff's persona and Daniel's voice had produced something harder to manufacture than the format suggested. The imitators mostly failed. The original ran for 4 seasons. Fact 12. Hasselhoff had creative disagreements with production that nearly led to his departure. By the 3rd season, tensions had developed over the direction of the show. Hasselhoff felt the character's development had stalled, and that scripts were prioritizing action sequences over the human elements he believed gave the show its emotional core. The disagreements were significant enough to generate departure rumors reported in the entertainment press. The renewal for a 4th season resolved the immediate crisis, but the underlying tensions were never fully addressed. The 4th season was the show's last. Fact 13. The Knight Rider theme became one of the decade's most recognized pieces of television music. Stu Phillips composed the theme, a synthesizer-driven piece combining urgency with forward momentum that matched the show's visual language. The synthesizer sound was specific to its era, early 1980s technology, affordable for television budgets, but still carrying the quality of novelty. The theme has been covered, sampled, and referenced continuously since the show's run. It remains immediately recognizable to anyone who watched American television in the 1980s, the kind of musical signature that doesn't require the image to communicate the world it belongs to. Fact 14. The 2008 revival lasted one season before NBC canceled it. NBC revived Knight Rider in 2008 with a new cast and an updated KITT, now a Ford Mustang with shape-shifting capabilities and a more overtly digital voice. The revival attempted to update the premise for a contemporary audience. It lasted one season of 17 episodes. Critics found it lacking the chemistry of the original. The shape-shifting KITT generated particular skepticism. The simplicity of the original car's design had been part of its appeal, and replacing it with a transforming vehicle removed the visual consistency that made KITT recognizable. The original worked because it was always the same car. The revival forgot that. Fact 15. Glenn A. Larson created 5 major television series in the same decade. Knight Rider was one of 5 significant series Larson created or co-created in a compressed period. Battlestar Galactica in 1978, Magnum P1 in 1980, The Fall Guy in 1981, Knight Rider in 1982, and Airwolf in 1984. Each had a distinctive visual concept, a straightforward hero premise, and a built-in merchandising identity. Larson's output represents an unusual concentration of commercially successful concept television from a single creator. He was not a prestige television figure. Critics rarely discussed his work seriously, but his instinct for what mainstream audiences wanted from an hour of action television was precise and consistent. And now the bonus I've been saving for last. The original KITT hero car, the primary vehicle used for filming in the first season, was not retired gracefully. After the show ended, the production vehicles were dispersed. Some were sold, some were destroyed, and the paperwork tracking their individual fates was not carefully maintained. For years, various Trans Ams appeared at conventions and fan events claiming to be the original KITT, with varying degrees of documentation. The car most credibly identified as the primary hero vehicle from the first season eventually came to rest at the National Automobile and Truck Museum in Auburn, Indiana, where it is on permanent display. The documentation is more complete than most competing claimants, though the Knight Rider fan community has never fully resolved the question. KITT was, on screen, indestructible. Off-screen, it turned out to be considerably harder to keep track of. The car that defined a generation of viewers' idea of what a remarkable vehicle looked like spent years uncertain of its own identity, which is, in its way, a very Knight Rider story.